Hello, everybody. This is Bill Wiggins from Sailing Inc. in Charleston, South Carolina. How's everybody doing today? I did not lead in with my little normal lead in promoting evolution and Sailing Inc. and J-Boats because we're trying to respect our guest today, who has an affiliation with one of our competitors. But he agreed to come on and talk with us, so we really appreciate it. So we're going to do what we can to keep it just absolutely fun for him today. I'm sure all of you have heard the name Tom Slingsby, and if you were on with us last night with Nathan, you heard his name come up a couple of times because they're buddies and rivals, and I think we'll probably hear a couple of those stories tonight. We look forward to that. So real quick, a quick bio. Tom is one of the most successful sailors in the world, having won an Olympic gold medal, 9 world championships, the America's Cup, and numerous world records, in addition to being crowned 2010 World Sailor of the Year. He dominated the laser class between 2006 and 2012, claiming 6 world titles during that period, with his final championships coinciding with his Olympic gold medal at the London Games. He was named the Australian Institute Sport Athlete of the Year, received the Medal of the Order of Australia. Maybe he'll explain that one to us a little later. Shortly after the Olympics in 2012, he joined Oracle as a strategist for the America's Cup, and he stayed with them through the 35th America's Cup. He also won the Sydney Hobart in the middle of that. In 2019, he earned the first world title in the Moth class after dominating the competition and winning all but one race. Anyway, I'm going to play a quick intro video for you, and then we'll see if we can get him on the line.
The Australians,
what a race they have sailed, the Australians with their
My role
third
as
win of the
tactician
event.
really is being very good at communicating. In my life, I'm probably most proud of my Olympic gold medal. That just took me 12 years of hard work, but it shows that I've been through the pressure points in my career. I've been to a couple of Olympics, and I've failed on the big stage, and I've succeeded on the big stage. My motivation is winning. My whole life I've been a competitor, whether I'm playing cards, table tennis, golf, or sailing the America's Cup.
The 2011 ISAF Sailing World Championships are in Perth this December. Current world number 1 in the laser event, Australia's own Tom Slingsby, is the reigning World Sailor of the Year and the one to beat at these championships.
I want to go undefeated, and I want to prove that I'm a force next year at the Olympics.
And dynamic techniques make him a clear favourite, strong winds and big waves expected in Perth.
Tom Slingsby powering across the line for yet another race victory. Across the line in commanding style. What a race they have sailed. The Australians with their third win of the event from 4 races.
We are overlapped. Get ready to protest.
It's time to get up and party. Australia is the 2019 Sail GP champion.
Couldn't have gone any better for us. Australia won 2, and somehow the points worked out well that Tom Burton got up to second. So we're really happy, and I'm glad it looks like I've got the best training partner in the world heading into the Olympics soon.
All right. I hope you guys. I hope you all enjoyed that one. Let me see if I can't get Tom in here. Hey, Tom, you around?
Yeah, I'm here.
There we go. Hey, welcome to Sailing Inc.
Thank you.
Did you enjoy that little video montage we put together for you?
Yeah, a bit of a walk down memory lane. I obviously haven't seen a lot of that laser footage in a long time. And yeah, the one where we're talking about my training partner, Tom Burton. Tom and I are still really good friends. And yeah, I remember that was, we were first and second in the Sail for Gold regatta just leading into the 2012 Olympics. And he was my training partner. So he's obviously gone on to do some amazing things.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to start this with the same question I ask everybody. You know, when, where, and how did you get into this funny thing that we all love so much, this sailing thing?
Yeah, I got into sailing very young age. My dad was a sailor. My dad is a sailor. He sails the actual class still. He's been doing the club racing at Gosford Sailing Club for about 30 plus years. And at about 5 years old, they first got me in what we call a sabo, which is very similar to an Optimus, and pushed me off out on Brisbane waters at Gosford Sailing Club. And from there, I became a tennis player. From the age of 5 to 15, I was full-time tennis. I was obviously school, but I would play before and after school. And I would have Saturday afternoons were my sailing day. From the age, I probably started sailing about 6 or 7 years old. And I was just playing tennis, concentrating on that. But I really enjoyed my Saturday afternoons with my friends sailing at Gosford Sailing Club. And then slowly but surely, I started to fall out of love with tennis. And at the age of about 15, 16 years old, I think it was my 16th birthday present, possibly, that I said I don't want to pick up a tennis racket again and I want to sail more. And it was at the same time the Olympics were on in Sydney, and I remember I was just loving sailing. I just got into the laser class and sailing around by myself. My sister was really good. She went to very high up in the women's laser radial world titles, and we were training a lot. And I would come down to Sydney. I was an hour and a half train ride away, and we had school holidays over the Olympics, and I would come down and watch every day, watch the lasers out there, I was cheering for Michael Blackburn to take down Robert Scheidt and Ben Ainsley, but it ended up being the famous showdown between Scheidt and Ainsley. And I remember right then and there, I was just sitting on the rocks. Wasn't paid spectating or anything then. It was just sitting on the rocks watching those guys compete for the gold medal. And that's when I said right then and there that I wanted to win an Olympic gold medal for Australia.
Wow. So what was the next step? How do you take it from sitting on the rocks and watching to getting there?
It was right around the same time I quit tennis, and it might have been straight after that I quit tennis, and because I wanted time. And with tennis, I guess I sort of learned how to be a professional pretty young. I realized how much training and discipline it takes to improve at something and to really jump up. And so I used to train before school for tennis. I used to run to the tennis courts in the morning at 5 o'clock, train for 2 hours, and then run to school after that, finish school and run to the tennis courts. So I had a really good work ethic, and I just put that into sailing. So every morning I'd wake up and my sister and I would go training in sailing. We'd hit the water as soon as the sun came up, and we start training. And I mean, I guess it's not really a common thing in sailing to get up that early and go training before school. But I didn't know that. I knew I used to do it in tennis, so why not? And I remember I did the laser radial nationals the year before, and I finished 61st in Australia in the laser radial. And then 1 year later, after all this training, I won.
Wow.
And so for me, it was a time on the water thing. I wasn't a good junior sailor at all. I was in the junior classes. I was beaten up pretty heavily by my really good friends Joe Turner and Nathan Outridge. They were the dominant kids on the block, and I would finish 20th, 15th, 20th at local events.
Right.
But so I didn't think I was that talented, but I realized after I just started training before and after school that it was mainly a time on the water thing, and I did have talent, and I just hadn't put the time in. And so from there, I realized that maybe the Olympics is a possibility, and I just kept training and slowly moving my way up in the laser class.
That's amazing, man. And that's the same way. It's whether you're swimming or playing tennis or sailing, you just got to put the time in and the training in, and hopefully all the cards fall in the right direction. And I kind of said this to Nathan yesterday. You guys, your group that you grew up sailing up and down the coast with, we were all so good that you made each other that much better all the time. And if you're sailing against better sailors, you're going to become a better sailor all the time. So.
Yeah, no, and it was a real generation thing. We had amazing sailors, and we had amazing sailors who actually haven't gone on to be professional sailors around the world, but they sort of went down different paths. But yeah, myself, Nathan Outridge, Ian Jensen, we used to look up to the guys ahead of us, like Chris Nicholson grew up on the lakes, and there were so many amazing sailors. We had the 18-foot skiff Grand Prix League running on Sydney Harbour, which we used to watch on TV. And we just grew up at an amazing time. And I just listened to Shirley Robertson's podcast with Ian Percy and Chris Draper, and they said, look, we were just friends growing up sailing together. We didn't realise that we were how good we were. We just loved racing each other and pushing each other, and that's kind of how it was with myself, Nathan Outridge, Goobs, Ian Jensen, and another one of my best friends, Joe Turner. He was right in there in the midst as well, but ended up going down the engineering path in life. And but yeah, we all pushed each other to. As soon as we sort of came out of our bubble, we realised that we were pretty good at sailing.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then once you won we call them Olympic trials. Is that what you guys call them down there?
Yeah.
The qualification series, and you actually got to go. I have to ask, what's it like walking into the opening ceremonies? Were you able to go to that?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. So for me, obviously, I went through the ups and the downs. In 2004, Olympic trials up against Michael Blackburn. He beat me. He was ranked number 1 in the world at the time. I think I came 7th in the Worlds in 2004, but one person goes per country, so it's a pretty tough game.
Yeah.
And then from there, I didn't take that as a bad sign. I just said, I've got to work harder. I've got 4 years to get better, and I was young. I was only 19 then, and put my head down for the next 4 years and won some world titles on the lead into 2008 Olympics. I look back at 2008. It's a bit of a weird time because my memory's not great of it, and the reason for that is when I won the Olympic trials over Michael Blackburn, basically in our Olympic trial year, we were first and second in every trial event we did. I think it was about 8 events, and we swapped positions. I had 4 firsts and 4 seconds. He had 4 firsts and 4 seconds in our Olympic trials, and so they couldn't distinguish a winner, so it came down to a vote. And because that year I won the world titles and the European titles, they weighted them slightly heavier, and they gave me the nod. As soon as that happened, I think we did a world title in February that year in 2008, and then I went into lose as much weight as humanly possible to get ready for the Chinese weather conditions, which was basically no wind.
Right.
So I went from my natural weight of 86, 87 kilos, and I was, for the first race of China, I was 73 kilos. And
wow.
And anyone who, that was over the course of about 5 months, I lost about 13 kilos. And at about 77 kilos, so the doctors told me to stop losing weight. Me being the hard head that I am, I ignored them, and they said that you shouldn't keep doing this, and I kept going. I knew I could lose more weight, and I wouldn't eat, and I would run. My morning run was 26-kilometer loop. I'd do that 5 days a week, and then I'd come back and barely eat. I was obsessed with losing weight, I guess, because I thought that was going to be a huge factor in China. this is why my memory's a bit blurry of the whole time. I got sick a lot. I got glandular fever a couple of weeks before the Olympics, which obviously goes for months.
Right.
And so it is a bit blurry, but going back to your question, sorry I went off track, but walking into the Olympic Stadium was unbelievable. You stand back and you get put in your countries, and then you're in the tunnel waiting. And in China, I think it was 110,000 people in the stadium, and you just hear the roar out there, and you're in the tunnel, and all the countries are there chanting. They might be doing national anthems or national chants and psyching everyone up. And it was unbelievable just being in the tunnel about to walk out. And when I walked out and saw all the people, and you're walking around with your friends, and I'll never forget those times.
Yeah. It's hard not to get choked up for something like that, right? It's just such an amazing feeling.
It was unbelievable. Great time.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So, from there, what kind of propelled you? What took you on to the next level? You were a single-handed sailor, right? And now it seems like you're the wanted man to be brought into a boat. And I guess I can see a strategist being pulled in who's a single-handed sailor, because he's thinking that's his job. He knows how to sail the boat, but also think about what's going on. So it actually helped to bring you in. But tell us about that transition a little bit.
Yeah, well, after 2008, it didn't go well for me, unfortunately, at the Olympics. But after that, Nathan Outridge and I, we were sort of best mates through that whole period. We both bombed out at the Olympics. I mean, he was probably the favourite. I was definitely the favourite in our class. I bombed out completely and finished 22nd. Nathan had that famous race in 20 knots in the 25 knots in the medal race, where he capsized 100 metres from the finish line when he was going to get a gold or a silver medal. Oh. So we were both really down, actually, out of that. And at that point, lasers were my whole life sort of thing. That's all I was really doing. I was doing a little bit of professional sailing, a bit of far 40s tactics and a few things like that. But we finished the Olympics and we said, let's just get as good as we possibly can, and let's sail every type of boat we get the opportunity to sail. And I remember we both said, okay, what's the next event that we could do that's relatively cheap? And there was the A-class, the International A-class Worlds happening in from Nathan's home area.
Okay.
And we bought boats that were about 7 or 8, 9 years old, which isn't generally smart in a development class. But we said this will get us out on the start line, and we did the A-class Worlds with I think it was 110 boats on this beautiful lake, and really we just said, let's learn. And I'd never sailed a catamaran before, and I started sailing this and loving it. I think Nathan beat me there. I think I was 10th, he was 9th or 8th or something, and Glenn Ashby obviously won those. And then we both bought moths. He got into the moth about 2 years before me. Right. But we both, as soon as I was able to get the money, I bought a moth and got out there sailing, and we did the 2010 or Moth Worlds. And then we just got good at sailing fast boats. I was doing all my far 40s, even TP52s, all my slow tactical boats then, plus the laser campaign. And it really just helped for me. I guess I'm a slow boat sailor, and for me, having Nathan there as the best fast boat sailor going around, dragging me into all these other classes, it just, the amount of knowledge I learned from him, getting me into that sort of thing, that America's Cup offers came knocking to both of us. And I had about 3 or 4 offers from teams back then, and this was in 2011, and I decided to go with Oracle Team USA, being the defender of the Cup. I was offered steering roles in smaller teams, right? And Nathan, that's I guess a bit where Nathan and my path separated for a long time. He took a steering role with Team Korea, I took any role at Oracle Team USA. I didn't know where.
Here's your broom, get to work, right? Here's your broom, get to work. Start swinging.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, as soon as after I joined on in 2011, and the deal was you concentrate on your Olympic campaign, and then after your Olympic campaign, you join us full time. And so I did a couple of events over the next year, but then as soon as I finished the Olympics in 2012, I joined full time. I moved to San Francisco, and as soon as I walked in, I'd just done Olympic parades down all the main cities of Australia, and everyone knew who I was in Australia because the gold medal I won was the first for Australia in the 2012 Olympics. And so I had a bit of notoriety back here. I was walking around like waving at the crowds, and moved to San Francisco, and they said, I want you to pull off all the winches of all the AC-45s. I think there was about 4 or 5 test boats then, and clean them. And it took me like a month to do because it wasn't a one-man job. You can't undo the winches off the deck without someone holding it underneath the spanner. So I had to, and I cleaned winches for months before I retired at Oracle. It was definitely a hazing period going on there that they said, look, this isn't the Olympics anymore. You're a junior here, and they put me to work.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
So what is
good?
So then you were the strategist tactician on the 45.
Yes,
that whole
the World Series. Yeah, I'd done a little bit of sailing with Darren Bundock while I was still campaigning for the Olympics. I was his tactician.
Okay.
And then when I finished, I think the next event I actually sailed with Russell Coots as his tactician, which is pretty daunting, I've got to say. As a 27-year-old kid with Russell Coots, who's arguably the best tactical sailor there's ever been. And he was. I copped an earful a few times doing that, but
do you have any stories there where he might have second guessed you, or you had to override him a little bit? You can.
In general, yeah. In general, I thought he was good to me, and he trusted me. But for sure, like, you make a mistake, and he doesn't want to lose places. So I copped it a few times for sure. But that's good as long as I was there, and I was just I had a motto which I was given. That was. You've got 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. Use them in that order. And when I went into Oracle, I remember I just said, I'm going to just take all this in. We've got Grant Simmer, Jimmy Spithill, Russell Coots, Simon Daubney, Murray Jones, these legends of the sport. Yeah. And I'm a 27-year-old laser sailor. I'm here to learn, and so I just took it all in. And if they were yelling at me, I was trying to learn from it. If they were speaking to me nicely, I was trying to learn from it. And those were really great years leading into that 13 Cup. I got to sail with some amazing people.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And then you took a little time off to go back laser sailing, right?
No, after 2012, I didn't sail again for I don't think I might have went training with the Australian Tom Burton and the Australian group. Okay. Once or twice, but no, I haven't sailed laser. I've gone out once or twice over the years, but I haven't gotten into it since 2012, unfortunately.
Right. Okay. All right. And then the whole party basically moved to Bermuda. Did you stay on with them and work full time, or was there a little bit of a break?
Yeah. So obviously the 2013 Cup was pretty crazy, and after. I think in the 2013 Cup, I had a big role in the foiling upwind was something that I sort of really took on, and I think a few people word went around. And when we finished the 2013 Cup, I had basically there were 6 teams who had committed to the next Cup, and within 1 week I think I had 6 offers to join the team. So. I had to make a choice pretty quickly, and I was fortunate that Russell Coots said, "We'd love to have you again," and want you in more of a senior role this time. At that time, we were talking about being a skipper or tactician, and so Russell, I was the first person signed on to Oracle for the 2017 defence,
Right.
And that was amazing. I basically was able to hire a lot of the team I wanted and the designers and get a team together from scratch, which is something which I learned a lot. And Russell was there in my ear teaching me the whole way. And it was an interesting time actually. We for example, Russell was saying, are you interested in steering? And my whole thing was, look, I want to put the best team on the water. What's our strongest combination we could get? This was at the time where Ben Ainsley's team was up in the air, but Ben Ainsley Racing, BAR, was that going to happen? And so we'll talk to Ben about possibly coming and joining and steering. Jimmy, being Jimmy, he was out getting offers from every team after that, the win in 2013. So he was playing hardball, I guess, and saying he was talking to all teams, seeing all offers on the table. And then Ben got his team going. I was asked, do I want to steer? And I just said, okay, well, who would be my tactician? What would be the role? And in the end, I said to Grant Simmer and Russell Coots, I said, look, I think the strongest team we could put on the water is Jimmy Spithill steering and myself as tactician. And so I said, look, I'm not all about steering. I want to win the cup. I don't have to steer at all. I'm very happy being a tactician, and that's the team we got. I said, look, you guys worry about the financials of how to sign Jimmy, and I think we'd be a great team. And you look at that campaign, we actually were a really good team, and we got beaten by a better team, New Zealand, and I guess a real I forget the word right now, but evolutionary team New Zealand. They thought outside the box. Their design team was amazing. Their young sailing team was unbelievable, and they just they did something really amazing. We were a really strong team at Oracle, and it was unfortunate for us to lose so easily, I guess, in the final 7-1. We felt that we could have done really well, but it didn't play out that way.
It was unfortunate, but we all watched intently, and we, from afar, watching that all take place in Bermuda was looked like quite a great spot to be sailing in.
It was unbelievable. We lived in Bermuda for 3 years. Crystal clear water, unbelievable locals, very friendly, and we made it our home, and we were part of the community. And it was the sailing there was, I guess, that little natural amphitheater of Bermuda, the way it works, the reefs sort of locking out all the waves. It's a foiling paradise. Crystal clear water with AC50s racing around on a tight little track. It was beautiful. It's great times.
Absolutely. So, what do you think of these new boats that they're racing? Obviously, it made a design challenge because we're down to 4 boats, and they, it's pretty expensive, so we couldn't get a lot of teams out there. But what's your first take on those?
Look, my first take, I was trying to get an Australian team. Everyone knows that. I was trying to raise money for an Australian team to get there, and my first take was I liked it. I liked the pushing the boundaries. I guess at Oracle we were sort of running down that train the whole time, and they sort of took the ball and ran with it as well. And so I kind of liked that. But initially I was trying to raise $100 million here in Australia to campaign. I had plenty of people I was working with to come up with the number that could win the America's Cup. And before we knew what sort of boat it was going to be, we were like, okay, this is how much it's going to take. And that's the number we came up with. And when the boat came out, I thought, this is amazing. Look at this. And then I started looking into it further and realizing the financials of it all. And it's what everyone's faced now. I think there was a lot of interest. A lot of teams were keen. And then, to build a boat, in Bermuda, an AC50 was around $5 million, say US. These boats, as a 70-foot monohull, and with the complexities of it all, I don't know the number, but my guess would be 15 million US for one of these boats. You've got to build 2 of them. That goes to 30 million US. 11 sailors on board compared to 5. Salaries go up. The money just went up and up and up, and I was sitting there going, I can't see how you could win it for under 150 now. And then you looked at the teams who were joining on then, with Ineos, who have a lot of money, New York Challenge, a lot of money, Luna Rossa, and I was just like, these guys are going to spend, I don't know the number, but my guess is they're going to be over $200 million for a campaign, and so and that might be US dollars, and in Australia that's $250,000-300,000. So $300 million. So it just went a bit too far. I think Team New Zealand had the right idea, but I think it just the little things started adding up. All these things. I think the boat could have been smaller. If they did a 50-foot version of this boat, it wouldn't be quite the sight, but it would still be the same speed. It would still be the same design race. It would be an unbelievable spectacle, and I think they would have got a lot more teams, because it literally doubles from going from a 50-footer to a 75-footer in this type of boat. I'm sure maybe even triples.
Yeah.
So
sounds right.
I think it's a beautiful boat, and I love watching them out there sailing. I'd love to have a go of one day. And yeah, when the Cup comes around in hopefully in March next year, I'm going to try to get over there and watch. It'll be great to see, but I can see why there's not too many entries, unfortunately. It's a fine line. We dealt with it at Oracle Team USA between being spectacular versus the costs and how many teams can join in. And it's a fine line, because you don't want to be less spectacular than the Cup before, but to do that, it costs money. So it's a real juggling act, and hopefully, who knows, plenty of teams come, and I hope the racing's close, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. So a good friend of mine, Pete Lawley from Charlotte, North Carolina, wants to know, what are your thoughts on stadium-style competition versus traditional buoy racing?
I think there's a place for both in our sport. I think, I'm a laser sailor. And there's nothing more than I love than going out in a TP52, one design racing out offshore, and just getting into it out there, and no cameras, just you and your team just doing the best you can against all these other teams. I love that, and I love sailing out offshore in a laser and racing boats. So but I think if we are to get, I've seen a lot of the numbers, and Russell Coots obviously lives by the numbers for how we're going with all these things, and it really is the amount of more people watch these short, sharp races. I don't like doing a 15-minute race compared to doing a 40-minute race. I'd love to do a 40-minute because I feel like I get my chance to fight back into the race. But you look at the numbers and how many people turn off if the races go on too long, and if they're not short and around a tight course, and the legs are too long, and the competitors get too far away from each other, and people literally they tune out and watch something else. So what we're doing now is, it seems to be we're definitely getting a lot more viewers. Even at Sail GP now, we're getting more viewers we ever did in America's Cup World Series events, any of that stuff. So it's been a real process. We've made a lot of mistakes in the past, but we've been refining it, and I think there's a place for both in our sport. The offshore traditional sailing is amazing, and but I think the inshore stadium style fast boats around a tight course is amazing too.
What a great segue into Sail GP.
Oh, there we go.
So tell us, how'd you get? Obviously you were tight with Russell, so you had a shot there. How did you make that transition?
Yeah, so we lost the cup in 2017. People who follow the cup very closely realise there's a lot of politics that go on in the America's Cup. You've got protocols, deed of gifts, and you have to set a rule that you think is perfect for the whole time, and usually you can't change it without unanimous or majority decisions. And in 4 years' time, the world's moved on, the sailing has moved on, and you can't change these rules. You'd love to change it, and for example, the boats. You say, these boats can or can't sail in 20 knots of breeze. That's too much wind for them. And then as time goes on, you learn how to sail them. You'd love to say, look, we should sail up to 25. We're all doing it comfortably. All it takes is one person out of the 6 challenges to say, we're not that good in the strong winds. Let's block it. And so they can block it for the whole event, where you can't change the rule and make it more spectator. Like the majority of the masses watching would love it to go to 25 knots, but one team with a advantage says, "Oh, look, we're not going to gain an advantage out of this, so we're not going to change." So Larry and Russell basically, this whole deed of gift thing, they said, look, we lost fair and square in Bermuda. There was no issue there, and we lost that. But they said, look, we can create something new. It wasn't to go in competition with the America's Cup. It was to just create something new that we didn't need deed of gifts and protocols to run, that we can change the rules all the time, one design boats, that it comes down to more of the skill of the sailor instead of the design race. And as soon as the Americas, I think within a week or two of the America's Cup finishing, we were getting, we were getting messages about, yeah, sorry, I got the cleaners here. We were into talks about changing to starting a new league. And I went off and said, look, I would love to try to get an Australian America's Cup team going. But this whole time, I'm very interested in this Sail GP concept, and I'd love to know what's happening. And sure enough, it came about. At first, they were asking me to steer the American team, as I'm a US citizen and my passport. But soon enough, it came up that they wanted to put an Australian team in, and would I lead that? And I thought it was an amazing opportunity and jumped at it.
Yeah, and you put a really solid team together right out of the box. So pretty impressive. Yeah,
no, it was a tough one between bringing in new young guys, whereas going in with experience. And it's tricky how it'll all play out in coming years. We've got a lot of teams there who have invested in the youth of their country and who are going to be good in 3 years, and training them up now. And I've got to find that blend between, I guess we're a bit of an older team, and bringing in new people at the same time.
Right. Well, for those of you who haven't watched Sail GP, and there's probably very few of you, by the way, there's 100 people watching right now, which is a record for us. So at least on the New Zealand site. So I'm pretty impressed. You definitely brought more than Nathan. You can dig in with that tomorrow.
Wow. That's what I said before the interview. I said, as long as I beat Nathan's numbers, I'm happy.
So, but anyway, if you haven't watched the Sail GP, what a perfect time. You guys don't have anything else to do this weekend? Download the app or pull it up on the big screen in your living room and watch some of these races from last year and then the first race from this year, because it's impressive sailing. And for stadium sailing, it is incredible. You guys are foiling all the way around the race course now, right? You never settle down.
Yeah, we could very easily. It's a tight mix between going with bigger foils, which are slower, and we could foil around the track very easily if we put on big foils all the time, but and faster foils, which get us around going quicker, but you touch down a lot more often. But yeah, we can do dry laps, no problem.
Yeah. Well, Matthew wants to know how you're going to beat Ben.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Any tips, Matthew?
Yeah, it's tough. Long story short, we sailed at about 50% of it, what I think we're capable of in Sydney. And I actually would say I sailed at about 50% of what I was capable of, and my team sailed right up there. They sailed really well, but I actually genuinely feel like I let our team down there. It's obviously everyone saw the match race and how I got a penalty at the pre-start.
Right.
The same thing actually happened in the Marseille pre-start, where our start software didn't come up on the screen. So for everyone that doesn't know this, but at 5-minute gun, our start software comes up. It gives you a countdown to the start. It gives you all your ley lines, all your start software telemetry, where the boundaries are. And at 4 minutes 30, we radioed the race control and said, we don't have any start software. We just sailed past the committee boat, which has a timer, and it said that we've got 4 minutes 30. They said, oh yeah, it's on the way. Don't worry, it'll be put up. And then at 2 minutes 30, we contacted them again and said, look, it hasn't come up again. Are we supposed to start this race? What's happening? And they said, yes, the race is starting. It's coming. Your start software is coming.
Oh.
And I was sitting there. It doesn't come up on the broadcast, but I'm sitting there chatting with Kyle and Jason with 2 minutes, 10 seconds to go, saying, should we even, let's not start. We don't have any software. Let's not start this race and bail out. And I was not arguing, but we were debating what we do here.
Right.
And I entered half a second early. I was sort of watching the mark and talking with them and watching, and I entered half a second early, and we got a penalty, and where the start line was under a big headland with no wind. And sure enough, our start software came up at 1 minute 45, and they said, what are you talking about? You've got your software. And we're all jumping up and down saying we didn't have anything. And by this stage, when it did come up, we've got a penalty to do, which was 2 jibes. And in these boats, in no wind, it was death of us. And so I looked like an idiot, and it was my fault. I shouldn't have been worrying about that when I was entering the boat at 2 minutes.
Right.
But look, the whole event, I wasn't firing personally for whatever reason. In training, we were sailing well. We were really firing.
Right.
And then in the racing, it just didn't really go our way. So Ben is very beatable. His team's very strong. He's got the most. Everyone says, "Oh, Ben's new to the class." Ben sailed more 50-foot catamarans than anyone steering combined, really, with BAR for the 2017 challenge, and then his whole crew did the Sail GP last year. So I knew they were going to be strong, but we can beat them for sure. I've got to do a better job. My team did an amazing job in Sydney, but I just sort of let us down a bit. And I've watched so many videos and watched so much data on it, and looked at all my communication, and I was just raring to go for San Francisco. And unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a bit longer to get redemption. But I'm confident we can get Ben, and if we beat Ben, we know we're beating some of the best guy in the world.
Absolutely. I'm not sure this is going to – it will, Phil. Harry Fisher, do you see Sail GP working hand-in-hand with the Cup one day, or will they inevitably be working against each other in some way, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, we do not want to go against the Cup. If we can get more viewers, like who are non-sailors, into sailing and watch Sail GP, and then when the America's Cup's on, they go watch the America's Cup. That's great. And if some of the America's Cup viewers come watch Sail GP when the America's Cup's on, that's great. We want to work together with them. And what I think should happen and could happen in the future for sure is each Cup team have a Sail GP team as well. I mean, we're consistent racing, we're regular racing around the world. It's very, I say very cheap in comparison to an America's Cup campaign. I was talking $150, $200 million before. We run around, without including buying the boat, we run off around $5 million a year to race around the world in the Sail GP program.
Yep.
At very rough figures, but I think it really could. You think of a $150 million campaign to put $5 million a year for 3 years into a SailGP to get their team regular, highly competitive racing on high-performance boats. I know if I was running a America's Cup campaign, I would be very interested in that for sure. And I'd like to think that there's obviously a bit of beef there, but in the old days between Russell Coots and Grant Dalton, and I think a lot of that's why it might not have happened this time around. But in the future, I think for sure we should link them together and work together. And more people watching sailing, the better. We want to take our sport to the masses, and I think both types of boats are very exciting. So let's work together a bit more. I think it'd be great.
Right. And Nathan said last night that the boats, they're in New Zealand right now, just getting some repairs done and kind of in standby to see what happens next. Do you have any insight there?
No, it's a tough one. There's a lot of jobs on these boats that take months to do. They need the boats in New Zealand to do work for months. So it's a bit of a toss-up between trying to get some events away later in the year, or do we put them straight back in New Zealand and start doing these big jobs, like getting the big wings out on the water, which can take the wind limit down from 6 knots down to 3 knots. They're getting the small wings working. And there's a lot of things with the broadcast package, which Russell wants to do, which will take quite a bit of time of work on the boat. So
yeah.
Toss up, try to get a couple of events off later in the year, or put the boats into a full rework and come out really strong for next season.
Yeah. Or I kind of mentioned last night, just put a big series together, maybe a few weeks in a row right there in Auckland. It's right there. Get everybody to come there.
Yeah. No, that's a great – we've spoken about doing something like that, maybe in Auckland or even in San Francisco, which is not too hard to organise from Auckland with the ship, but do a couple of events in a row. San Francisco has always got reliable wind, and do, for 3 weeks, say every weekend for 3 weeks, an event. So you run off 3 events. But having said that, we want it to be a spectacle for the year, a proper World Series throughout the year, and have the winner win that final event. So whether it's Russell makes these calls, whether it's worth it to do sort of not a half-assed attempt to get a couple of events away at the end of the year, or come back with a really good calendar for 2021. Yep. I think I'd probably lean towards the latter, and let's try to lock in 8, 9, 10 events next year at iconic venues, and have an amazing series next year, instead of doing something that might not be that spectacular this year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't want to waylay you a little too much here, but this must be an inside joke. Can you ask how hard it is to have never won the Bang in the Corners Cup?
Good old Jody Shields, aka Randy Cunningham. Bang in the Corners Cup happens at the Moth Worlds most years. It's a little short sprint series racing where basically last place gets knocked out each race. Okay. I've competed in a few, and I've been right up there into the last couple a few times, and I think the last one I did was final 3 or so, and I was in a position to move to the next round, and I dropped my main sheet about 1 second after Jody commentating saying he can't lose it from here, and I lost it and got eliminated. So 1 year I'll win the Bang in the Corners Cup.
So back to the SailGP a little bit. Do you think they're going to grow that circuit at all, or is logistics just too much to add more events to that? No,
it is. We definitely want to grow it. Look, it's a moving. This is a good thing about SailGP is it's not like America's Cup. We haven't set rules of how many teams or of how many events. We can change it however we want. And between Larry and Russell, they're always talking. I remember when I first signed up, we were starting with 6 teams, and Larry and Russell were saying, look, let's go to 10 teams, 10 events, then we cap it, and then you run a relegation. The bottom 2 teams get dropped and 2 new teams come in. They had all these different ideas like that with like the English Premier League, or then they had an idea how the NFL works. and different ideas, and they're taking the best ideas between Formula One, NFL, Premier League, and they're just trying to see what could work for us.
Yeah.
How many events? The logistics do get tough when you get more boats and more, because obviously Sydney Harbour is not a massive place, but it's spectacular.
Yeah.
But for us to put 10 teams will be a stretch. We need to find enough area to get all the tents in, and to the technical area where we rig these boats and launch them. It gets really big with 10 teams, but it's manageable. We can do it. So the last I heard was 10 teams, 10 events, and if you're the bottom team, you get dropped. A lot of other things come into it, like, are you commercially sustainable? How much money does Larry have to put into your team?
Right.
These things obviously are going to play a factor as well. So you've got to be successful off the water and gaining sponsorship as well as on. But the beauty of it is we can change it however we want, and it can be Russell Coutts says this more than anyone. He says, look, we've done so many things wrong with last year's SailGP. He, in the broadcast sense, he goes, I wasn't happy at all with it. And he's like, but next year I'm going to improve. And we can just keep improving it.
Yep.
And he's always trying to, after each event, we have a debrief on it. And then the next event, we're better. And hopefully we keep that process going for years to come. And we've got someone like Larry Ellison who just loves sailing.
Yeah.
How lucky are you to have one of the richest, wealthiest people in the world love our sport and put endless amounts of money into backing it to trying to make it more accessible for the general public, exciting boats. And he's basically committed to around 5 years of this project. And who knows, he might go further after that when 5 years is up. But he loves sailing, and he loves this direction that it's taking.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I'd love to see it come to Charleston. I don't know if you've been to Charleston or not, but we have a beautiful harbor. A little small for 10 boats probably, but it's a good spot to go yachting.
I've heard a lot about Charleston. I've got to get there, and I haven't been, but hopefully in the coming years.
Yeah. Well, we should be doing Charleston Race Week starting tomorrow, actually, but it's not going to happen. But we're all missing it. It is what it is. A friend of mine, actually from Charleston, Chris McDonald, he's getting ready to do the Royal 1000, which is I believe it's on Nacras. It's a 1,000-mile race up the coast or down up the coast, I think. But he wants to know how to get a multi-hull to foil without spending too much money.
Yeah, there's a couple of projects out there. There's one of my friends, Kyle Stoneham, who's a moth sailor. He's got one. I think the boat is called a Vampire. It sort of looks like an F-18 type hull, and they have foils which very similar, I guess, to the America's Cup, fold down out the side. And that sails around. That's like an 18-foot foiling, and that's a way to adapt foils to an existing boat, I guess. Right. And then, then you've got your foiling ones like the Foiling Phantom. I think there's a Nacra 20 foiling cat. Other than that, there's a few other areas that you can do it, but it definitely gets a bit trickier to get on a foiling multi-hull. It's an expensive game. As soon as you put foils on any boat, the prices go up a lot, and it is tough. But if you can get on someone else's boat, that's what I like to do with SailGP. Sail someone else's boat. It's a lot cheaper that way.
There you go. No sense in owning the boat, right?
No, exactly. You get all the costs that come with it.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, again, everybody, if you've not watched the SailGP, definitely, check it out, because it's fun sailing and it's exciting sailing. You'll find yourself sitting up late at night like I do, watching it on television just to see the excitement of it. Hear these guys talk, because they're mic'd up the whole time, so you hear some good insight from the water as well. So it's good stuff. So we can't wait for it to come back. Slight segue here. Wally wants to know, with the COVID-19 pandemic, how are you staying in shape, since outdoor activity is obviously limited?
Yeah, we're pretty lucky here. I'm in Sydney, Australia. We're obviously pretty lucky. We're allowed outside for exercise, and we're actually allowed to sail as long as you abide by social distancing rules. So I've got a Moth, which is a 500-metre walk down the road. from my little sailing club at Wallara Sailing Club. And yeah, so I'm probably sailing on the Moth every second day.
Wow.
Every 2 to 3 days I get out. I've been doing a little bit of kayaking, surf ski paddling. I played tennis last night. I threw my back out last night playing tennis.
You went back to that sport.
I did. I haven't played in years and years, and sure enough, it bit me again. But and then I'm really just doing around the house type things, push-ups, sit-ups. I've got a little chin-up bar in my house. So when the quarantine started, I think I spent the first 3 weeks working out 3 times a day and just getting super fit. I said, I'm going to take this opportunity to get fit. That was when we thought it might last a few weeks. And now we're realizing it's going to last a long time. I've backed right off the fitness because it's not something I can sustain the whole way through. So I'm just doing enough to stay healthy and stay fit enough to go sailing my Moth and be an active person. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Have you been doing any of the virtual regattas?
I haven't. I've got to get into it again. I've definitely got to get. I played it a couple of times last year with our Sail GP team, but yeah, I haven't been able to get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pete wants to know where Nala is.
Nala. Oh, I can show you Nala actually. Hey. Yeah, she's always lurking around. Hey, Nala, say hello. And this is my other dog at the house, Jersey.
Jersey?
Yeah. So, that's always got dogs around me. Everyone knows that who follows me on social media.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So, just real quick and brief. We don't want to, linger too much on this COVID thing, but how do you foresee, the nations kind of handling the, obviously you're a pro sailor. I do a little bit of pro sailing, but if nothing else, I do a lot of traveling, around the country and around North America. And we're not going to be able to do that, So what happens to the average guy who, was going to get into J70 and go to Florida, or we've got a BX1, we're going to go to Toronto later this year. And I think these things are all going to get locked down. You think this is, obviously it's going to stop eventually, but in my opinion, I think it's going to be really good for local clubs and local sailing. And can you see that, guys like you actually coming back into the yacht clubs and sailing and making the local racing better, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, on that point, I've been sailing a lot more out of our local club. I've been out coaching a bit, and sorry, if you could ask me to. I've been out coaching a bit at the local club. For sure, it's going to be a positive. Everyone's got a few different restrictions, but it's going to be a positive thing for your local club if you're allowed to get out.
Right.
We're allowed to sail with 1 or 2 people. And then as for the whole situation, I'm sitting back and watching it like everyone else and hearing all these different theories on herd immunity, on do you lock it all out? Do you get everyone to get it? And everyone knows I'm no expert at this sort of stuff. I'm just sort of watching, and sailing, it'll all come back online. I can only imagine it'll be a slow progression back on, but it'll come back on, and we've got one of those sports where we'll be back out on the water soon. But like everyone else, I'm just sitting there watching the news each day and listening to all these different theories, and I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah. Well, I hope the local clubs and associations and junior programs can leverage this and reach out to, we've got a lot of pro sailors that live here in Charleston that never sail in Charleston. But, if they can't travel, maybe they'll get out for a Wednesday night race or a Saturday afternoon race, just to kind of keep it going,
I think like your local area will open up a long time before we're allowed to travel. So, the way for me to sail is to sail at my local club. I can't travel and go around the world, so I'd love to get more involved with our local club. And I've been down there every day lately. It's I'm really enjoying it, getting back to the local club and with all my community around here. Yeah,
well, that's great. You hear that, everybody? At his club, he's available. He wants to go sailing. It's good.
There you go. Yeah, they know that.
Scott says, I saw a little while back Nathan was having a go at wind foiling. In fact, I think he's going out next Tuesday. He just bought one. Will you have a crack at that one?
Yeah, I saw Nathan go out. Yeah, he was the windsurfing on foiling. There's a couple of different ones with those wings on the hydrofoiling board, and I've sort of been watching all that. I saw Nathan out on the. Nathan and I used to do windsurfing against each other. We used to do drag races around, and we used to always try to buy the one-up each other with equipment and who could get the top speed. I think that ended when I snapped the boom. I was doing 37.9 knots and hit the sandbar and cartwheel in front of Nathan, and I destroyed all my equipment. And then I think we went and bought moths after that because that was too painful. But yeah, I'd love to. I'm just trying to decide what to get, actually, whether to get a windsurfer on foils, which we've got a lot at our club, or to get one of those wind foils with the wing, where they hold the wing out, and which his crew, Ian Jensen, is trying to get me into. He's got one up here at the lakes, and he's saying I've got to get one of those, and Kyle Langford's got one. And so I'm just trying to decide what to get. I don't want to go buy everything and not use it enough, so it's a bit tricky.
Absolutely. Well, Tom, I think we've reached our hour mark, even though our goal was 30 minutes. Once again, we've tipped over the hour. But is there anything else you want to kind of throw out there while you've got still probably close to 100 people watching? Anything for us?
I don't really have anything. I guess we sort of spoke about it with, Sail GP and the America's Cup. These are sort of, it was about to be very exciting times. Hopefully it can all go back to normal. And I think sort of what Larry's doing with all this, we have a lot of haters who sort of get into Sail GP. It's, the racing is not close enough. There's this or that. And my response to them is always, what's the alternative? You want nothing? No sailing on TV? You wait 4 years to watch the America's Cup or the Olympics? So we're always trying to improve the whole spectacle for everyone. We're always trying to improve the events, and each event we get a little better with everything. And so hopefully in a few years' time, it'll be something that it's a must tune in for everyone around the world, not just sailors, but people who love racing in general. It might be the F1 fans come over. You never know. So hopefully we're on the right track with it all, and it's a process trying to get better all the time at sailing and the production, I guess, to get a really good package out to all the fans.
Absolutely. Jessica had a little quick joke here. Jessica runs the local community sailing center here in Charleston, and I'm actually interviewing her tomorrow afternoon. So I think she might need a little help. She might call you later just to get some tips on how to.
Okay. Sounds good.
Looking forward to it, Jessica. It's going to be a good time. But all right, everybody. Again, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Tom, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had fun. We didn't
I did.
Too much of your day away. You can go out and do a little moss sailing this afternoon, but totally appreciate it. And once you get back to sailing, we wish you the best of luck, and we will all be watching, I promise. Hopefully the ratings go up by 100, 150 people. So. And
thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm going to play that video one more time just to, well, everybody likes to put their questions and statements in at the end, so we'll just let it ride. And Tom, we'll see you soon.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Australians with their
what a race they have sailed. The Australians with their third win of
my role as tactician really has been very good at communicating. In my life, I'm probably most proud of my Olympic gold medal. That just took me 12 years of hard work, but it shows that I've been through the pressure points in my career. I've been through a couple of Olympics, and I've failed on the big stage, and I've succeeded on the big stage. My motivation is winning. My whole life I've been a competitor, whether I'm playing cards, table tennis, golf, or sailing the America's Cup.
The 2011 ISAF Sailing World Championships are in Perth this December. Current world number one in the laser event, Australia's own Tom Slingsby, is the reigning world sailor of the year and the one to beat at these championships.
I want to go undefeated, and I want to prove that I'm a force next year at the Olympics.
Strength and dynamic technique make him a clear favourite in the strong winds and big waves expected in Perth.
Tom Slingsby powering across the line for yet another race victory. Across the line in commanding style. What a race they have sailed. The Australians with their third win of the event from 4 races.
We are overlapped. Copy. Get ready to make protest.
It's time to get up and party. Australia is the 2019 SailGP champion.
The medal race couldn't have gone any better for us. Australia won 2, and somehow the points worked out well that Tom Burton got up to second. So we're really happy, and I'm glad. It looks like I've got the best training partner in the world heading into the Olympics too.